Hey, welcome back to Mr. Nance's Top 5. This time we're talking about the top 5 books that I love to reread. You know, I love to read books, and I read quite a bit, but some books you'll read one time, and you'll hate them, and you'll toss them to the side. Other books you'll read one time, and you'll really love them, but you'll never really want to read them again. Or at least, you won't want to read them again for a very great length of time. Sometimes I read a book 15 years later just to refresh my mind on it. But then there are those books that you just keep coming back to over and over and over again. These are my top 5 books to reread, going all the way back to my childhood. Starting in at number 5 is the book Dandelion Wine by Ray Bradbury. In fact, I really love all of Bradbury, and all of his work is very rereadable. I often go back to many of my favorites of Bradbury's work, but Dandelion Wine is by far the most charming, and I always enjoy rereading it. At number 4 is The Enchanted Forest Chronicles, the books by Patricia Reedy. She takes fairy tales and recasts them in the story of Cimarine, the no-nonsense princess who doesn't want to do all the princessy things. Instead, she decides to become princess to the dragon Kazul, and many wonderful adventures ensue, where they have to fight off all the rascally wizards. It's a charming series, and one that I have to go back and reread every few years. One of my friends, Mariah, in grade school introduced it to me, and ever since then I've been very much in love with it. At number 3, my very favorite book when I was small was The Phantom Tollbooth. I reread The Phantom Tollbooth over and over and over again, and each time I read it, I found the jokes more and more fun. It's a lovely romp through a semantic wonderland. Milo, the main character, who is bored with life and uncertain of what he wants to do with himself, discovers this magical toll booth, which leads him to a magical land. In the magical land, he learns the wonders of words and numbers and sound and sight and vision and perspective and all the important things that you can learn in the world of knowledge. Once again, it's still a book that I frequently come back to and reread. At number 2, one of my very favorite series of all time, The Chronicles of Narnia. I always go back and reread them. I reread them probably at least once a year. Everyone knows about the wonderful story of The Chronicles of Narnia, and the stories are so rich, the characters are so delightful. There's so much to be inspired by and encouraged by in the stories. But also, as I've gotten older and become a better and more versatile reader, I've discovered so many wonderful allusions packed into the Chronicles of Narnia that I didn't know were there. Not only are these wonderful layers of myth involved in the storytelling, but there's references to Dante, there's references to Milton, there's references to Plato. These really great things that you can enjoy only as you become more and more mature. And the number 1 book that I reread is Dante's Divine Comedy. Now, in my list, I've tried to avoid those books which I reread because I teach them, and only include books that I reread for my own personal pleasure. And Inferno is really one of both of those. I teach Inferno, and therefore I reread it every year as I'm teaching it, but I also reread the whole Divine Comedy from time to time, in fact, quite frequently, simply because it's so wonderful. It started as a book that I was teaching, but as I taught it more and more, I fell more and more in love with it, to the point where it's become one of the most important books I've ever read. So those are my top 5 books that I go back and reread for pleasure. What are your favorite books to reread? Do you like to reread books? Or do you prefer just to read them the one time and set them aside? You can leave any comments down below, or you can click over here to watch another video or to subscribe. I'll see you next time.